I buried my wife Linda on a gray December morning, while snow fell silently on the frozen Montana prairie. And 3 hours later, my youngest son Marcus stood in her kitchen, looked me straight in the eye, and said, "Dad, the free ride is over. It's time you learn to stand on your own 2 feet." But what Marcus didn't know was that the tired old man standing in front of him wasn't just a grieving widower in a borrowed suit. He was a civil engineer who had designed 42 bridges across 3 states and negotiated contracts worth hundreds of millions. And Marcus definitely didn't know that someone had been documenting his every move for the past 90 days. If you're watching this, hit subscribe right now and tell me in the comments if you've ever had to deal with a family member who mistook kindness for weakness, because what I'm about to share might just save you from making the mistake I almost made. My name is Robert Mitchell. I'm 67 years old, and for the last 40 years, I let the world think I was just a simple retired engineer living on a modest pension in a ranch house outside Billings. I let Linda, my wife of 43 years, be the face of our household. Her name was on the mortgage, on the truck title, on the joint checking account we used for groceries and bills. Linda was the sunshine that kept our family together, the glue that held Marcus and his older brother Daniel in line. I was the quiet one, the one who worked long hours, came home dusty, and didn't make waves. I did it because I loved peace. I did it because Marcus had always been jealous of his older brother, always resentful when I spent time with Daniel talking about engineering and construction. So, I let Linda handle the boys. I let her be the parent they relied on while I stayed in the background. I thought I was keeping the peace. I didn't realize I was teaching Marcus that his father was irrelevant. The cancer took Linda in 8 months. It started as a cough she couldn't shake, and ended with her weighing 89 pounds in a hospice bed, holding my hand while the December wind rattled the windows. Our last conversation, she looked at me with those gray eyes that used to sparkle when she laughed, and she whispered, "Robert, promise me you'll be okay. Promise me you won't let the boys take advantage." I told her yes, of course, the boys would take care of me. But she squeezed my hand hard, harder than I thought possible for someone so frail, and said, "Marcus isn't Daniel. You know that, don't you?" I nodded. I knew. Marcus had been different since he was 15, ever since he got caught stealing from Daniel's college fund. But Linda had always defended him, always said he just needed time to find himself. Now she was gone, and I was about to find out exactly who Marcus had found. The funeral was small. Linda didn't want a fuss. Just family and a few neighbors from down the road. The pastor said nice things about her volunteer work at the library and her famous huckleberry pie. I stood by the grave watching them lower the casket into the frozen earth, feeling like someone had scooped out my insides with a spoon. Daniel stood beside me, his wife Sarah holding his arm, both of them crying quietly. Marcus stood on the other side, checking his phone every few minutes. He wore a suit that looked expensive. Too expensive for a man who'd been asking to borrow money from his mother 3 weeks before she died. His girlfriend Vanessa stood next to him, chewing gum and looking bored. After the service, everyone came back to the house. The neighbors had brought casseroles, and someone made coffee. I sat in my recliner, the one Linda had bought me 10 years ago, just wanting everyone to leave so I could be alone with my grief. Daniel came over, knelt down beside me. "Dad," he said quietly, "Sarah and I want you to come stay with us for a few weeks. You shouldn't be alone right now." Before I could answer, Marcus cut in from across the room. "He's not going anywhere," Marcus said, walking over with Vanessa trailing behind. "Dad's staying here. This is his home. Besides, I'm moving in to help out." I looked at him, confused. "Moving in? Marcus, you have your own apartment in town." Marcus smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. Had an apartment. Lease was up. "Vanessa and I need a place while we look for something more permanent. And you're going to need help around here, Dad. You're not getting any younger." Daniel stood up, his jaw tight. "Marcus, Dad doesn't need you moving in 2 hours after we buried Mom. He needs space." Marcus's smile vanished. "Dad doesn't need space. He needs someone to make sure the bills get paid, the house doesn't fall apart, and he doesn't wander off in a snowstorm. Unless you want to quit your job in Seattle and move back here, little brother, I suggest you let me handle this." The way he said, "little brother," even though Daniel was 4 years older, made it clear who Marcus thought was in charge now. Daniel looked at me, waiting for me to say something, to tell Marcus no. But I was tired. My Linda was in the ground. My chest ached. The house felt too big and too empty. Maybe Marcus was right. Maybe I did need someone around. "It's fine, Daniel," I said quietly. "Marcus can stay for a bit if he needs to." I saw the disappointment flash across Daniel's face. He pulled a card from his wallet and pressed it into my hand. "Dad, you call me. Anytime. Day or night. If you need anything. If anything feels wrong, you call me. Promise?" I promised. He hugged me, whispered that he loved me, and then he and Sarah left with the last of the neighbors. The house emptied out, and suddenly, it was just me, Marcus, and Vanessa. That's when Marcus pulled out my truck keys from his pocket. I frowned. Those had been on the hook by the door. When had he taken them? "Dad," Marcus said, jingling the keys like he was talking to a child. "Vanessa and I are going to take the truck to grab our stuff from storage. You should rest. You've had a long day." I stood up from the recliner, my knees popping. "Marcus, I can drive you. It's my truck." Marcus laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Dad, you're 70 years old, and you just buried your wife. You're in no condition to drive. We'll be back in a few hours. Just sit tight." "I'm 67, I corrected, but he was already walking out the door with Vanessa giggling behind him. I heard the truck start, heard the tires crunch on the gravel driveway, and then they were gone. I stood in the living room of my own house, confused about what had just happened. Why my son had taken my keys without asking. Why he had talked to me like I was a senile old fool. I walked to the window and looked out at the snow-covered fields that stretched for miles in every direction. This land had been in Linda's family for 3 generations. The ranch house sat on 200 acres of nothing but sagebrush and wind, worthless to everyone except us. At least, that's what Marcus thought. What Marcus didn't know, what I had never told anyone except Linda and my lawyer, was that buried 300 feet below this frozen ground was a vein of rare earth minerals that a mining company had been begging to lease for the past 5 years. The contract I'd signed with them, kept in a safe deposit box in town, was worth $18 million in upfront payment plus royalties. Marcus didn't know about that, and he didn't know about the stock portfolio I'd built over 40 years, buying shares in every company I'd designed structures for, stocks that were now worth another $20 million. He didn't know that the tired old man he'd just dismissed had more money in his accounts than Marcus would see in 10 lifetimes. I had hidden it all for a reason. When the boys were young, I saw what money did to families in our town. I saw sons who never worked a day, living off their parents' success. I saw daughters who married badly because they knew daddy would bail them out. I didn't want that for Daniel and Marcus. So Linda and I lived simply. We drove used trucks. We repaired things instead of replacing them. We made our boys work summer jobs, paid for their college but made them earn their spending money. Daniel thrived. He became a structural engineer like me, started his own firm in Seattle, was happy and successful. But Marcus had always wanted the easy path. He dropped out of 3 different colleges, worked a dozen different jobs, always quit when the work got hard, always came back to Linda, asking for money, always had a new excuse for why life wasn't fair to him. They came back after midnight. I heard the truck pull up, heard doors slamming, heard Marcus and Vanessa arguing about something. I was in bed, but not sleeping. How do you sleep in an empty bed after 43 years of warmth beside you? I heard them carrying boxes inside, heard Vanessa's high-pitched voice saying, "This place is ancient. Does it even have Wi-Fi?" I heard Marcus telling her to shut up, that it was temporary, that things would be different soon. I closed my eyes and tried to sleep, but all I could think about was Linda's last words. Marcus isn't Daniel. You know that, don't you? The next morning, I woke to the smell of bacon. For a moment, I forgot Linda was gone. I thought maybe she was in the kitchen making breakfast like she had 10,000 mornings before. Then reality crashed back in, cold and heavy. I got up, put on my flannel robe, and shuffled to the kitchen. The sight of it made my stomach turn. Marcus sat at the table eating eggs and scrolling through his phone. "Good morning, Dad," Marcus said without looking up. "Vanessa made breakfast. Sit down." I looked at the table. 2 plates. None for me. "Where's mine?" I asked. Marcus glanced up, surprised. "Oh, we didn't know you were up. There might be some cereal in the pantry." Cereal. The morning after I buried my wife, in my own kitchen. And he was offering me cereal, while he and his girlfriend ate my food from my fridge. I opened the pantry. The cereal was stale. I poured a bowl anyway, added milk that tasted like it was about to turn, and sat at the table. We ate in silence. Then Marcus pushed his plate away and pulled out a stack of papers. "Dad, we need to talk about some practical matters," he said, spreading the papers on the table. "Mom's death left some loose ends we need to tie up. The mortgage, the utilities, the insurance, all of that was in her name. We need to transfer everything to you. And honestly, given your age, we should probably set up a power of attorney so I can help manage things." I looked at the papers. They were legal forms, the kind you download from the internet. My name was already filled in. Marcus's name was in the agent section. "Marcus, I don't need a power of attorney. I've been managing my own affairs for 67 years. Marcus sighed, like I was being difficult. "Dad, I know this is hard, but Mom was the one who paid the bills, right? She handled the checkbook. You were always working. Off building your bridges. Never home. You don't even know what bills need paying." He was wrong. But I didn't correct him. I'd paid every bill for 43 years. Linda's name was on the accounts because I put it there, to protect the assets from lawsuits if one of my bridge designs ever failed. But Marcus had always assumed his mother ran the household finances because he'd never bothered to ask. "I'll handle it," I said, pushing the papers back toward him. "I don't need help." Marcus's face hardened. "Dad, don't be stubborn. Vanessa and I are here now. Let us help. Let me take this burden off you." Burden. He called my independence a burden. I stood up, my cereal bowl still half full. "I'm going to take a shower," I said. I walked out before he could argue. Behind me, I heard Vanessa whisper, "Told you he'd be difficult." And Marcus replied, "Give it time. Old people always break eventually." That afternoon, I tried to leave the house. I needed to drive to town. I needed to go to the bank. Needed to feel like I still had control over something. I reached for my truck keys. They weren't on the hook. I checked my pockets, checked the counter, checked everywhere. "Marcus," I called out, "where are my truck keys?" He came out of what used to be Linda's sewing room, now clearly his and Vanessa's bedroom. "Oh, I've got them." "Why?" I stared at him. "Because they're my keys to my truck and I need to go to town." Marcus shook his head. "Dad, you're not driving. Not today. You're grieving. You're not thinking clearly. What if you have an accident? What if you hurt someone?" I felt heat rising in my chest. "Marcus, I've been driving for 50 years without an accident. Give me my keys." He crossed his arms. "I can't do that, Dad. It's for your own safety. If you need something from town, write a list. Vanessa and I will pick it up later." This wasn't a request. It was a decree. My own son was grounding me like I was 16 years old. "This is my house," I said quietly. "My truck, my keys, give them to me." Marcus's face went cold. "Actually, Dad, this was Mom's house. And until we probate the will, technically it's part of her estate. So, maybe you should think carefully about making demands." I felt like I'd been slapped. I walked back to my bedroom, closed the door, and sat on the edge of the bed. My hands were shaking, not from age, from rage. I pulled out my cell phone. It was an old flip phone Linda had bought me years ago. I didn't need anything fancy. I started to dial Daniel's number. Then I stopped. Daniel was in Seattle. He had his own business, his own family. What was I going to tell him? That his brother took my keys? That I felt uncomfortable in my own home? It sounded pathetic. It sounded like an old man complaining. I closed the phone. I'd handle this myself. I just needed time to think. That night, Marcus told me that I'd be eating dinner in my room from now on. "It's nothing personal, Dad," he said, holding a plate with a sandwich and some chips. "But Vanessa and I need our privacy. We're young. We have things to discuss that, frankly, you wouldn't understand. It's better this way." He set the plate on my dresser and walked out, closing the door behind him. I heard the lock click. He'd locked me in my own bedroom. I sat there, stunned, holding the sandwich. It was peanut butter and jelly, the kind you make for children. I looked at the door. I could break it down. I was old, but I wasn't weak. 67 years of physical work had kept me strong. I could kick that door off its hinges. But then what? Get into a physical fight with my son? Call the police? And tell them my boy locked me in my room? I'd sound insane. So I ate the sandwich, and I began to plan. Over the next week, things got worse. Marcus went through the house like a vulture, tagging items for sale. Linda's piano, that she'd played since she was 6 years old, too big, taking up space, worth maybe $1,500. My toolbox from 40 years of engineering work? Old junk. Nobody uses these anymore. The photos on the walls, Linda's collections, my books. Everything was fair game. When I protested, Marcus told me I was being sentimental, that we needed to downsize, that I didn't need all this clutter at my age. He sold Linda's piano to a dealer for $1,200 and bought himself a new laptop. He sold my tools at a yard sale for $300 and took Vanessa out to an expensive restaurant in Billings. The lock on my bedroom door became permanent. They let me out twice a day, morning and evening, to use the bathroom and shower. The rest of the time, I was locked inside. Marcus brought me meals, always cheap, always cold, sandwiches, canned soup, crackers. One morning, I told him I needed my heart medication. I had high blood pressure, nothing serious, but I took a pill every day. Marcus brought me a bottle. The pills looked right, but after taking them for 2 days, I felt dizzy, unfocused, my thoughts muddy. I checked the bottle when Marcus wasn't looking. It wasn't my blood pressure medication. It was something else. Zolpidem. A sleeping pill. Strong enough to knock me out for hours. I stopped taking them. I palmed the pills when Marcus watched me swallow, then spit them into the toilet later. I needed my mind sharp. Through my bedroom window, I could see the driveway. I watched Marcus drive away every afternoon in my truck. He'd leave for hours, come back late, always looking nervous, always arguing with Vanessa. One night, I heard them fighting through the thin walls. "When are we getting the money, Marcus?" "You promised." Vanessa's voice, shrill and demanding. "I'm working on it. The old man has to sign the estate over first. Then we liquidate everything. The house alone is worth $500,000. $500,000? The lawyer said something about mineral rights, but I can't find the paperwork." My heart jumped. He knew about the mineral rights. Or suspected. I'd made a mistake years ago, mentioning them casually to Linda at a family dinner. Marcus must have remembered. I had to move carefully now. The next morning, Marcus came into my room with different papers. These weren't printed from the internet. These looked official, with a law firm's letterhead. "Dad," Marcus said, sitting on my bed, uninvited. "I talked to an attorney. A good one. He says that because Mom's name was on everything, we need to go through probate. It's going to be expensive. Could take years. Unless He paused. Unless we simplify things. If you sign this quitclaim deed, you transfer your interest in the property to me directly. It bypasses probate, saves us tens of thousands in legal fees. Then we can sell the ranch, split the money, and I can help you find a nice retirement community. I looked at the papers. A quitclaim deed. If I signed that, I'd be handing over the house and the land beneath it. The land with $18 million worth of mineral rights. For nothing. What do you mean split the money? I asked. Marcus smiled. Well, obviously most of it goes to Vanessa and me. We're young. We have our whole lives ahead. You're what? 75 now? You don't need much. We'll make sure you're comfortable. 75. He'd added 8 years to my age, and he wasn't planning to split anything. He was planning to take it all and dump me in the cheapest nursing home he could find. I looked at my son, really looked at him. His eyes were bloodshot. His hands trembled slightly. And I saw track marks on his inner arm, barely hidden by his sleeves. Marcus wasn't just greedy. He was an addict. That's where all his money went. That's why he needed mine so desperately. I need to think about it, I said. Marcus's face went dark. There's nothing to think about, Dad. You sign this tomorrow, or things get very uncomfortable for you. It was a threat, clear and direct. I nodded slowly. Okay, Marcus, tomorrow. He left, locking the door behind him. I waited until I heard his footsteps fade down the hall. Then, I reached under my mattress. Weeks ago, before Linda died, she'd given me something. A cell phone. Not my old flip phone. A smartphone. Prepaid. Hidden in a box of her things. Just in case, she'd whispered. Just in case you need help and can't use the regular phone. I hadn't understood then. I understood now. Linda had known. She'd seen what Marcus was becoming, and she'd prepared for this. I powered on the phone. The battery was low, but it worked. I pulled out a business card I'd kept hidden in my wallet, behind my driver's license where Marcus wouldn't find it when he'd taken my wallet to keep it safe. The card belonged to Thomas Gray, an attorney in Billings who'd handled the mineral rights contract 5 years ago. I dialed. It rang 4 times. Then a voice, professional and alert. Gray and Associates. Thomas, it's Robert Mitchell. There was a pause. Robert, I was hoping you'd call. I saw Linda's obituary. I'm very sorry. And, thank you. I need your help. My son is trying to steal my property. I know. He came to my office 3 days ago, asking about mineral rights attached to your ranch. I told him I couldn't discuss client matters. He's going to force me to sign a quitclaim deed tomorrow. Don't sign anything. I'm activating the contingency plan we set up. The contingency plan. 5 years ago, when I'd signed the mineral rights deal, Thomas had suggested we put safeguards in place. Hidden protections. Recast. I'd laughed it off then. I wasn't laughing now. What happens next? I asked. I'm calling Judge Hendricks tonight. I'm no. By tomorrow morning, you'll have a guardian ad litem appointed, an officer of the court who'll investigate Marcus's actions. I'm also contacting the county sheriff. Elder abuse is a felony in Montana, Robert. If Marcus has been confining you, withholding medication, coercing you, he's looking at serious charges. I don't want my son in prison, I said quietly. That's not your choice anymore, Thomas replied. He crossed a line. Now the state gets involved. Just hold on. Help is coming. I hung up. My hand was shaking. Not from fear, from relief. I wasn't alone. I'd been playing the part of the helpless old man because I thought that's what Marcus needed to see. Thought it would make him back off. Realize he was going too far. But Marcus had mistaken my patience for weakness. He'd mistaken my grief for vulnerability. Tomorrow he was going to learn the difference. The next morning came cold and bright. Marcus unlocked my door earlier than usual. Get dressed, Dad. We're going to the bank. You're signing the deed, and we're opening a new account in my name as your power of attorney. This all ends today. I dressed slowly, putting on my good jeans, my flannel shirt, my boots, the clothes I wore when I used to walk construction sites, inspecting bridges, checking welds, making decisions that could save lives or destroy them. I looked at myself in the mirror. I didn't look 75. I didn't even look 67. I looked like what I was. A man who'd built things that lasted. We drove to town in my truck, Marcus behind the wheel, Vanessa in the passenger seat checking her makeup. We pulled into the parking lot of First National Bank. Marcus killed the engine. Okay, Dad, here's how this works. We go inside. You tell them you want me added to your accounts. You tell them you're signing over the property. You smile. You cooperate. And when we're done, we'll grab lunch before we go look at retirement homes. Sound good? I nodded. Sounds good, son. We walked inside. The bank manager, Helen Rodriguez, recognized me immediately. I'd known her since she was a teller 20 years ago. Robert, she said, her face full of sympathy. I was so sorry to hear about Linda. Thank you, Helen. Marcus stepped forward. Hi, I'm Marcus Mitchell, Robert's son. We need to make some changes to Dad's accounts. He'd like me added as a joint owner with right of survivorship. Also, we need to discuss his safe deposit box. Helen's smile faltered slightly. She looked at me. Robert, is that what you want? Before I could answer, Marcus cut in. Of course it's what he wants. He's 75 years old, Helen. He can barely remember to take his medication. I'm his caregiver now. We're simplifying things. Helen looked uncomfortable. She glanced toward the door. Robert, would you like to speak with me privately? Marcus's hand clamped down on my shoulder. Hard. Dad doesn't need privacy from his own son. Now let's get this done. We have a busy day. That's when the door to the bank opened. Sheriff Tom Dawson walked in, followed by Thomas Gray, and behind them, a woman in a business suit carrying a briefcase. The woman walked straight to our group. Marcus Mitchell? She asked. Marcus turned, confused. Yeah? I'm Jennifer Walsh, guardian ad litem, appointed by Judge Hendricks. This is Sheriff Dawson. We're here regarding allegations of elder abuse and financial exploitation. The color drained from Marcus's face. What? That's insane. Dad, tell them. Tell them I'm helping you. I looked at my son. I looked at the fear in his eyes, the desperation. I thought about the locked bedroom door, the stolen medication, the isolation, the threats. Marcus, I said quietly, you said my good life was over. You were wrong. Your life is over. You just didn't know it yet. Sheriff Dawson stepped forward. Marcus Mitchell, you're under arrest for elder abuse, false imprisonment, and attempted theft by deception. You have the right to remain silent. Marcus lunged at me. You bastard! You set me up! After everything I've done for you! It took 2 deputies to restrain him. Vanessa tried to run, but they stopped her too. Turns out she had warrants in 3 states for check fraud. As they dragged Marcus out in handcuffs, he was screaming, crying, saying he was sorry, that he was sick, that he needed help, and maybe he did. But that wasn't my problem anymore. In the privacy of Helen's office, Thomas laid it all out. The mineral rights contract, the stock portfolio, the real value of my estate. $38 million. Helen's jaw dropped. Robert, I had no idea. Nobody did. I said. That was the point. Thomas explained that Marcus's attorney was already calling, trying to make a deal. Marcus was looking at 5 to 10 years in state prison. What do you want to do, Robert? Thomas asked. I thought about Linda. I thought about what she would want. Tell them we'll support a rehabilitation program instead of prison if Marcus pleads guilty and agrees to never contact me again. He's sick. He needs help, but I'm done being his victim. The next few weeks were a blur. Marcus took the plea deal. Vanessa went back to California to face her warrants. Daniel flew out from Seattle and stayed with me for 2 weeks, helping me change the locks, clean out the house, exorcise the ghosts. We scattered Linda's ashes on the ridge above the ranch where she used to watch sunsets. I told Daniel about the money. He didn't care. Dad, I don't want your money. I want you to live, really live. For you, for Mom, so I did. I sold the ranch house but kept the mineral rights, which keep paying me royalties. I bought a small condo in Billings, joined a woodworking club, started dating a widow I met at the library. Her name is Grace, and she makes me laugh. I donated $2 million to a charity that helps addicts recover, in Marcus's name, hoping maybe someday he'd get clean and realize what he'd almost destroyed. And I set up a trust for Daniel's kids, for their education, with one condition: they have to work summer jobs and earn half of whatever they spend. I won't raise another Marcus. The lesson I learned is this: family doesn't get a free pass to destroy you. Love doesn't mean being a doormat. And strength isn't just physical. It's knowing when to fight back, when to ask for help, when to walk away from people who see you as an ATM instead of a human being. If you're going through something similar, if you have kids or relatives who think your age makes you weak, let me tell you something. We're not weak. We're survivors. We built the world these entitled children inherited, and we have every right to protect what we've earned. Don't let anyone tell you differently. Now, if you found this story satisfying, if you recognized yourself or someone you love in what I went through, subscribe to Revenge Chronicles right now. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And tell me in the comments, have you ever had to stand up to family? What did you do? I read every single comment because your stories matter. We're not alone in this fight.